Hi there, Zam here for NerdTube, and this is my thoughts and spoilers on Super Crooks, currently on Netflix. Now, it's hard to stand out when it comes to being a superhero show. You can be really good like The Boys and make a big splash and everyone wants to watch you, or you can be absolute bullshit like Jupiter's Legacy and just get lost in the fucking mix. Super Crooks is a little bit different because we're not following heroes, we're following villains. And I have to be honest, ever since I saw Assault on Arkham, which was one of the early Suicide Squad animations, I've been fascinated in having super villains as the protagonists and as the leads of films and television shows and animations, because it's just as interesting following them as it is the heroes. Now, just before I do some more comparisons with The Boys, I just want to mention some of these characters. On the far right, we have the Praetorian. He's a guy with over 200 superpowers, which makes him a really interesting hero character. But unfortunately, we find out that he's actually also a super villain, which makes him a super villain, not a superhero at all. The guy next to him is the Bastard. He's a bit like Kingpin, and he has a power where he can look at you and make your head blow up. There's a few other characters as well, like the Heat, who's this old guy who makes things burn. That's why he's called the Heat. He actually hasn't got any superpowers. He just has these flamethrowers on him, and that's his ability to make things burn and stuff like that. And he's been robbing banks and stealing stuff for decades, and he always wants to do one last score. But the main character we follow is Johnny Bolt. Now, he's the guy in the beige jacket. We see him as a kid in the first episode, and when he discovers his powers in the first episode, he basically wants to be a superhero like the people in the Union of Justice, and the Union of Justice are the Justice League of this universe. So when he finally reveals himself to his local community, his town so to speak, he does it at this open air swimming pool, and he flies over it using his electrical powers to make him fly, but he hasn't really harnessed and understood his powers properly yet, and he ends up falling into the swimming pool and electrocuting everyone in the pool, killing them all instantly. The people who are around the pool but not in the pool shit themselves, and they run off onto the street, and then they end up making cars crash, and then they crash into buildings, and buildings are burning, people in those buildings are dying, all types of carnage is fucking happening. It is absolutely hilarious how Johnny Bolt's introduction to the world as a superhero ends up killing so many people that he decides to go down the supervillain path, because as he's mourning, he's standing next to an ATM. Some of his electrical powers come out of his body, and that does something to the ATM which makes money come out of the ATM, and he realizes, you know what, it's better to be a villain than it is a hero. We cut to him later on as an adult, coming out of jail. We meet his girlfriend Casey, who's this lovely young lady who has a power of her own. She's a telepath, and she can manipulate your mind in believing that you're watching and seeing illusions. And she considers herself to be a supervillain too, but she wants to do one big heist, one big score, where you can make so much money that you don't have to do any more robberies again. And that's where the Heat comes along. It's old man in here in the purple, who is a flamethrowing sort of supervillain. Even though he has no superpowers, he has these flamethrowers on him, and he just burns and melts stuff up, and that's why he's called the Heat. And he's been doing robberies for decades, and he has one more last job. And then we come across all these other characters who have different abilities. A lot of these abilities we've seen before from other media, other sort of superhero shows, so it's nothing too amazing, but nevertheless I did like this show. And I want to do the comparison now to The Boys. See, with The Boys, you have superheroes who are despicable, horrible human beings, and it makes you wonder how they are how they're being seen as superheroes, considering they're such bad people. Now, in Super Crooks, we have guys who are super villains, but they're not that bad. You find out that they like to have a laugh and go for drinks, and they're willing to go out of their way for each other villains, to help them out. They want to help each other out, and that makes them very likable for super villains. and I very much appreciated the show for that as well. Yes, not all the villains in this show are nice people. There are people who are genuine villains, who are despicable people, like this Kingpin dude who can make people's heads blow up, and Praetorian as well, who was playing both sides. But nevertheless, the group we tend to follow tend to be reasonably good people who just want to help each other out and make a bit of money so that they can just live a simple life, or a healthy life, or a rich life where they don't have to worry about money ever again. And I very much appreciated the show for that. It's a good show, not the best show in the world, far from it, but a decent show. And with 25 minutes per episode, you can binge this all in one go if you want, all 13 episodes, or you can spread it out like I did during the course of a weekend. So I started watching this on Friday, just finished watching this today. I got not much more to say than that. I do recommend this if you like anime. Anime is not necessarily for everyone. You have sort of these Japanese quirks that don't necessarily translate well, but I like it. I've been watching anime since I was a kid, so I can understand how this was operating, and I very much appreciated it. But if you don't like anime too much, this is not necessarily the show for you. If you like your superheroes, it could be the show for you. If you like your super villains, this could be the show for you. This is a bit of a Suicide Squad type of thing going on here, so to speak. This might be the show for you in that particular aspect. I mean, the girl who would be the Harlequin would be Casey, but she's the opposite of Harlequin. Instead of being a crazy bitch, she's a very loving person who wants to help people out. So it's different, but it's the same but different. So it's how you want to take it. But still, an excellent show. No, I'll take that back. A good show. And if you have Netflix, then why the fuck not watch it? But let me know what you think. Do you think I'm being a bit too kind to this show? Do you think maybe it was a pile of shit? Or maybe I wasn't praising it enough and it's the greatest thing you've ever seen in your entire life? Well, let me know. Leave a comment below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube. We are the greatest YouTube channel you never fucking heard of. I'll see you cunts later. Bye bye.